The New York City Football Club has added a new midfielder during this transfer window, beating the deadline. But it's the attacking concerns, too, that need to be addressed. And now it's going to have to be within the group that's existing now. Can there be improvement on the wings? Can you always have Martinez there? Can he have a complementary figure? We got a lot to chat about. We just arrived in Toronto on NYCFC Views Live.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer.
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Glenn Crooks. There's Roberto Abramowitz. Indeed, the bus just pulled up. We raced up to our rooms. This is what it means to us, NYCFC Views Live. We race around from country to country. And
yes.
Everybody was so welcoming, which has been very nice in the early stages of our visit to Canada. And and it's a match tomorrow, which we're going to be broadcasting on our radio side on the NYCFC network. And Toronto is the opponent. And it's pretty interesting. They haven't lost in 4 games, so we're going to get to that. We're going to get to the performance last week by the New York City Football Club. But we have to kick off, Roberto. There has been clamoring from supporters about who's coming in. Is anybody coming in? And we know in the initial stages of the process, finding a number 6, essentially to replace James Sands, was a primary concern before Santi Rodriguez left. It was still always a concern, and perhaps it's been filled with Aiden O'Neill. He's an Australian. So, Roberto, you go first, and then I'm going to read some evaluations from some people who have watched him play closely, who I really trust. But what do we know so far outside of a $3.3 million reported transfer fee, which New York City could handle because they had a lot of GAM?
Yes, they do. They have a ton of GAM. They have a lot of money to be able to spend. We'll see how they wind up spending the rest of it during the summer window. So he has, for what we know, 205 appearances. He's played for 7 different teams since he's made his debut in 2016. The interesting thing about him was that he decided to go really early to England and to try to make it over there, and as a kid, and he was able to impress Burnley enough to be able to take him, and they did. But lately, he was the captain at Standard Liège, now he comes here in a league that is similar, maybe better than the Belgian league. And so this might be, a little bit of a step up. It would be sort of hard to think that, right? Because when you think of the Belgian league and especially the Belgium national team and how good they are, it would be hard to think that, MLS is a step up, but it is. And
Roberto, we just
in Cincinnati.
Okay, there, you got it back.
Okay, sorry.
We left your mic there for a moment.
Yeah, but I don't.
You're all right. We hear you now.
I'm at the mercy. I'm at the mercy of the technical gods here in Toronto, and our internet. So he's not going to play obviously tomorrow. He's got to get his visa, and maybe he'll be in time for him to play next Sunday against Cincinnati at Citi Field. But we'll see.
Wow, that would be pretty quick turnaround on a visa. I don't know. I mean, that would be great. He obviously can't. He can be in town, which he has been. Everybody's seen the pictures. He was at the facility, and I'm just going to take Hudson River Blue did a good job on here, and they made this little commentary based on the analytics surrounding this guy. So I'm just going to read from it. So Aiden O'Neill is the player. He's 26 years old. He looked the part of a strong number 6 during the 2023-24 season with Standard Liège, comparing favorably to midfielders in other European competitions based on pressure-adjusted tackles, the percentage of dribblers he successfully tackled, that's the kind of 6 that New York City wants and needs, and the percentage of headers that he won, which is also a critical personality for a 6. And then they go on, they say, despite some good signs that year, all those metrics were less this year. I don't have specifics on that, so perhaps he wasn't quite as effective this year. He was a captain of the team, as you said. However, he hasn't played in either of the last 2 matches, which is interesting because they're fighting for things in terms of European competition. And
Glenn, if I can interject, that's probably has to do with the fact that he was being sold to New York City, and you don't want to get somebody hurt, and then that sort of falls apart.
No, I didn't mean to assume that he might be injured or something. I guess what I was suggesting is 10 days ago, a publication, HLN in Belgium, said that it looked like he was going to make a move somewhere to MLS. They didn't have New York City specific in that article from what I had to translate it. So you're right. I didn't mean to say that he might be coming in injured. No. It's just that they held him out because
right. Or it wasn't even that. I wasn't assuming that. I was, maybe some people inferred from that, and this is just me guessing, that, his level of play had gone down and he had been dropped or anything like that. And I'm just saying that most likely is that because of the deal that was pending, you don't want to risk an injury that blows the whole thing up.
Here's what his coach said. Now, this is a quote, and again, it's a translated quote, so the best we can do here. His coach at Standard: when Standard was short of money, my captain's contract was reviewed. This is a testament to his importance. A departure would be a loss over which I ultimately have no influence. This is the coach. Coach wants to keep him, but he can't because they're going to sell him. He said, however, you have to leave for something, not peanuts. So they weren't going to sell him unless they were going to get a good return. Now, 2 more playing opinions and leadership opinions from 2 men who I trust, whose opinion, they've seen this guy a lot, and they've offered their opinions about him coming into the pot. And this is something I've just gotten over the last hour or 2. And I told you, Roberto, I want to tell everybody, I'm trying to get a hold of Des Buckingham, who coached him at Melbourne City, which is a City Football Group side. And you'll see David Lee's quotes in the press release saying that's, one of the nice parts about bringing him in is he's kind of used to the CFG way. So one opinion is he's a number 6 who will control midfield and set the rhythm for the team, positionally disciplined, and passes forward to break lines, which is a crucial aspect of this position, especially with Pascal Janssen's group. My only question would be mobility in Major League Soccer. So that's one. Another opinion: strong work ethic, leads by example, sets a standard from his behavior, application, and he can place the right demands on the team too. Now, this guy's coming in cold, but I get a sense, and when you see his interview, the New York City Digital put up a brief interview with him, and he's confident, man. I mean, he comes across as very confident, energetic between both boxes, has an understanding how to play in a positional system. So this is very specific to what the New York City is trying to do. He'll arrive in the box well. He'll regain second balls, pretty clean technically, and he was Melbourne's best player when they won 2 A-League titles. And they won the same year that New York City won MLS Cup 2021. So that's just a bit of a kind of a snapshot of who he is based on people who have seen him and people that work in the sporting side of soccer.
Yeah, and I think that when you start looking at where he fits in with New York City, you would think that he slides right in next to Keaton Parks. And that means that Johnny Shore's minutes are going to go down. And this is no slight on Johnny Shore, who I think has overachieved based on maybe what the expectations were. And he's doing well, but obviously you're bringing in somebody who's a veteran, who's a leader, who, at this point in his career is probably better suited for the role than Johnny is. But the thing is that Johnny got a chance to play a lot of games, and he'll still get a chance to play. And I'm sure that there'll be moments where he gets to come off the bench and be important. Also, let's remember that Australia now, I don't know where they are within qualifications for World Cup and all that, but he's on the Australian national team. So there's going to be times where he's going to be gone. So Johnny's still going to be a very important part and a key part of this team, but he's going to get a chance to grow and learn from somebody who's very, very experienced. So this isn't a slight on Johnny Shore. And I don't even mention Justin Hack in this situation because the way things are going.
Of course, it's not a slight on Johnny Shore is 17 years old, man. He has been.
Yeah.
No, but it's not a slight on him. There's no chance when this guy comes in that Johnny's going to be in the 11. It's not going to happen.
No,
but
I get that, but I don't want. I'm thinking of the way some people might view this, and I want to be
Pascal.
able to.
I love. We talked about how Pascal, how direct he is, and he was really he kind of gave it to Johnny Shore the last time we talked to him, saying, he didn't get on the ball enough. He's got to get on the ball more. Because when Parks didn't play in the first half in the last game, that was, kind of a dismal performance by the team. But things elevated when Keaton Parks came in and got on the ball a little bit more so they could play the way they'd like. But I'm just saying, Johnny Shore can take it. And
I'm sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
You don't have to code over. You don't have to code it with, it's not a slight on. No, this guy's 26. He's an international performer. Here's a 17-year-old story with him. I don't know if you read that. There's an Athletic article that was written about him. I want to read directly. Sorry, Roberto. I know I'm reading a lot here.
Go ahead.
So this was Aiden O'Neill started with Burnley, right? And he's 17 years old, and Sean Dyche is his coach. So he's at the training ground, and they had a chat organized after one of the early training sessions. And what O'Neill recalls Dyche saying is that he looked like he was pulling out of challenges every now and then. And what O'Neill said to Dyche was that he was apprehensive about accidentally injuring one of the first team players. And Dyche paused and then turned around and said, F that. You can't be like that. You're here to take someone else's position. You have to go out and show that. And I think that's a good parallel to Johnny Shore, because I sense he's got a strong mentality, but that's the kind of kid you're getting here. He's worked with Sean Dyche, who's a tough dude. And I'm pretty excited with this. And I've barely seen the guy play. I've only seen a little bit of film on him. So, but I think it's exactly what New York City needs.
And it's going to solidify the front of defense, right? I mean, and so New York City isn't going to be giving up, hopefully, once he starts playing, some of the goals that they've given up so far.
Well, that's if he can help with set piece defense. 2 set piece goals allowed last week, Roberto. And so Aiden O'Neill, we don't know when he's getting in. Maybe by tomorrow's broadcast, we'll have a better idea of where the visa sits. MLS has a guy. The league has a guy that helps push these things along. So it's important that New York City gets him in, as soon as possible to get involved in training and to exert some of this. I think one of the key qualities I'm hearing about this guy is that he's demanding of the people around him. And my sense is that New York City, in its current format, with its current personnel, doesn't have that guy. I know we see Thiago Martins, try to, he's the captain and he's the leader. But I just wonder how impactful that is and how effective that is.
And how long it's going to take him to be able to become that, right? Because you just can't step in and be a leader, unless you're a Messi. So now you got to go in and play and lead by example first, and then everything else that comes along with that, which seems to be his pedigree. So, looking forward, it's not like the sexy signing that people want, but hey, the LAFC had a very sexy signing with Olivier Giroud, and he just scored his first goal after like half a year. So, sometimes sexy isn't great.
No, I'm telling you, I think this is, supporters should be really pleased with this. We got to see him play. We got to see how he fits in. But I think that all that's going to happen. I think all that's going to happen. All right. So this last game, first shot on goal came in the 85th minute, Roberto, and two shots on goal total. One by Alonso Martinez. It was a good shot. It was 1 versus 2 in the area. He swiveled and got the shot off. Tavon Gray coming in as a second half sub. He got the other one, and he hit it well, and it had to be saved. But that was it. That's it. So let's
of 16 shots, by the way. So I mean, New York City's got 16 shots and only 2 of them on target. I mean, how? That's not great. I mean, it's obviously it's not great. It's horrible. So they have to do better, and this is an individual thing. Every player's got to be better at putting shots on target, getting the right direction, getting themselves in position where they're not going to, shots aren't going to be blocked by the defense, that they're able to pull the trigger. So it was a tough game. It was a tough game that they, that did not look good in New England at all.
Well, out of the 12 minutes that we both spent with Pascal, and that interview will be heard on the English side of the commentary tomorrow at 2:45. No, 2:15. Tomorrow's a 2:30 kickoff, right? Or 2:40 kickoff. So it's 2:15.
2:40 kickoff, yes.
2:15 our pregame show, Eastern time. But here's a piece from Pascal, and this was interesting, Roberto, because I really wanted to put the focus on Alonso Martinez first, and then who? So here's Pascal. Something to the effect of, not some players not playing up to their normal standard. And you mentioned Alonso Martinez maybe not exhibiting the quality necessary that we've seen most often. Is this an example of why it's pretty important in all the teams you've coached to have a second goal scorer that you can rely on, because you can't expect him to be maybe spot on each game?
Yeah, well, I hope he's going to be spot on every game. But like you said, Glenn, that's always an interesting one, because creating a roster going into a season, you always have to make a prediction in how many goals you have within your roster. And everybody knows that Alonso is a guy that can make the goals.
Can you share how many goals that you came up with as a coaching team leading into the season? That you thought you saw?
That's the interesting one, because Alonso had 17 goals in the league and a cup goal, if I'm not mistaken. But the outcome, just to keep it really simple, the outcome of our wingers has to go up. Yeah, which is also goes hand in hand with the impact of our wingers. So guys like Hannes, Juli, Agu, they have to score more goals and be more involved. Munsev is a good number 9, but knows he has to compete with one of the best number 9s in the league. But Munsev, as a stand-in, should also be able to score between 6 and 10 goals if possible. But at this moment in time, we are still relying too much on Alonso, and that's what we're working really hard on.
Wow, so there's a lot there in that answer. First of all, starting with coaching staffs will do this. You try to figure out how many goals you're going to score based on who you have. You predict it, and that helps you decide, well, do we need to bring somebody in immediately, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, Ojeda, Fernandez, Wolf, and others have underachieved in this category. I mean, he's basically saying, if those guys aren't producing, it is just Alonso Martinez. It's the Alonso Martinez show, and that's pretty much it. And
can I take Wolf out of that equation, considering he's got 3 goals and Alonso's got 5, because of the 11 goals they've scored? There's 8. So you only have 3 other goals. So Wolf has got 3 goals. I think that's pretty much on par for what we expected, considering what he did last year.
Yeah, well, he had 5 goals and 7 assists in the first half of the season. So I kind of
fell off the face of the earth.
One thing we don't have is, if anybody watching or listening has expected goals for Hannes Wolf, please put them up in the comments, because or do some studying for us. Or Shane, if you can look that up. We need expected goals, Hannes Wolf 2025. So I'll give you that. He's got 3 goals, but they all happen early. Nothing's happening right now, Roberto. There's one guy, and the guy misses the target on. Bacrar had a shining moment when the flick header onto Alonso Martinez in the first half, and then Alonso on the half volley just missed the target, which, and this is what I like about Pascal. It's like, that's not good enough. You got to hit the target, and that's kind of what he was referring to in terms of Martinez not being up to standard. Martinez has taken 22 shots, 14 on target. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, he's been a lifesaver for New York City. I mean, he's doing much better than anybody could have probably expected at this point, and has solved the problem that New York City had at center forward. So, Martinez has been a godsend. I'm trying to find out I'm looking over here at some of the stats that I'm getting from, where is this?
What are you looking at?
FB Ref.
All right.
I'm trying to see. I'm trying to find it. You
want me to vamp?
So let me see.
Well, let's take more.
His expected.
Hold on. Okay, go ahead. You got it.
Okay, his expected goals with goals and assists in PK is 0.47. That's his expected goals.
No, we got according to Sofa Score, 2.36 expected goals for Hannes, and he scored 3. That doesn't sound right, man.
I'm trying to see if I've got the right one.
Thank you so much for putting that out there, by the way. Thanks, Christopher. And what do you see on FebRef? So there's all these different analytics. So
so his XG is 29. Alonso Martinez's XG is 60. It's 0.29 rather, 0.29. Alonso Martinez is 0.62, and he leads the team. Let me just see how this pans out. Yeah, third is Keaton Parks, 0.20, and Andres Perea, 0.19.
Okay, forget those guys. Let's make the point here. Hannes Wolf has 3 goals, and that's what's expected based on that. His expected goal, he has scored the amount of goals he's expected to. Pascal Janssen expects him to score more. That's not a data point. That is a soccer point. He needs to score more goals. Who is going to support Alonso Martinez? This team is going to struggle to qualify for the playoffs if a second player does not emerge as a goal scorer. I'm telling you. And hearing that Aiden O'Neill might be a good final passer out of the midfield, where Alonso Martinez has all this pace. Monsef Bacrar is the second fastest player in MLS. If he could find the back of the net. And that's the other thing that Pascal said in there. He said Monsef Bacrar is a 6 to 10 goal scorer. You know how many he has, right?
He's at 0 still.
So
so I found expected without all the other stuff, okay? So the expected goals now, the XG, not per 90, but just XG, 4.8 for Alonso Martinez, 2.4 for Hannes Wolf, Keaton Parks 1.5, Monsef Bacrar 0.3.
Okay. So you got a striker with a 0.3, and we love Monsef, but I'm telling you, it's just how much longer does he get the chance? I don't know who else. What are the other answers? Seymour Reed is not ready. All right, so he's going to be a 2 player. He might get his short-term loan call-ups every now and then. He's only got 2 left, and he's only got 1 more appearance left, unless they sign him to a senior team contract, first team contract. So I'm finding this to be a really dramatically important point. Agustin Ojeda, I know you're a young guy. Julian Fernandez, I know you're a young guy. Hannes Wolf, you've been in the trenches, man, for a while now. You guys have to score goals, period. And if they don't start scoring, and New York City, now no one else is coming to join the fray, this is your attacking group now. And Maxi Morales is the playmaker. This is your attacking group. And no one will be added any earlier than July the 24th now to that attack.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens, man.
No, absolutely. You're 100% right when it comes to this. It's everybody's got to step up. They've got
Yeah.
to step up, and the more time that it takes for them to start contributing by scoring goals, the worse it's going to get for Alonso Martinez, because basically all the defense has to do is collapse on him and say, "Hey, let these guys take their chances," because chances are they're not going to do much.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I'm going against New York City FC and I'm willing to make the adjustment of playing three at the back if I'm normally a four at the back team, they haven't. Look, Minnesota, right? Minnesota, that loss, Minnesota played three at the back. Granted, New York City had more shots on frame that game, but what kind of quality? That's the thing that, just because it's on target doesn't necessarily mean it's a great goal scoring chance.
No,
And then,
and also, Glenn, there's something that's important, right? I mean, John Rojas just contributed something, and hi, John. He says that in that system, wide players are a must, top scorers, and he's right, because you're using inverted wingers. When you're using inverted wingers, you're not crossing balls into the center forward, hoping for headers for goals. You're having guys who are cutting across the top of the box and are shooting with their, with their strong leg. So you need them to be able to get into those positions and make other teams pay. But so far, it hasn't happened as often enough as you would want.
the other team, Columbus Crew, played three at the back. I believe New York City's played. That's a good point. John, thank you. Roberto. Three at the back, though. So take Columbus, 0-0. No shots on goal in that game. No shots on goal in that game for New York City. 2-1 loss to Minnesota at home in the smaller confines, which you get shots there. I mean, it happens. And then this most recent game, only 2 shots, and they both came after the 85th minute against the back three. So if I'm scouting New York City and I have the ability to make that switch, I'm going to consider it, because and the purpose of putting Bakrar in there last week was to offer him support, with his front three, and it just it didn't work, except for that one flick on. That one flick on was brilliant.
It did, and I mean, if you consider that maybe Bakrar is good in the air, right, or has a potential to be good in the air, so then you can start pumping some balls into the box, so you get away from what you're trying to do, which is trying to dribble your way and pass your way into scoring positions. So one of the things that was very evident in the games against Columbus and the game against Minnesota, aside from the shot that Keaton Parks on a rebound was able to put in, and New England as well. To break down a defense like that, you need to be able to work 1-2s, short passing. They have to be crisp and precise, and they just haven't been enough. There's been just too many passes that either aren't quick enough, are too far ahead, not far ahead enough, too behind, and you can't be able to play quickly that way when you've got to go and retrieve a ball, and then the defense is able to adjust.
The other thing
New York City's got to be very crisp, and they have not been crisp in trying to break down a defense that way.
And rhythm is an aspect of that. But Agustin Ojeda, this was in translation. So when we spoke to him at the presser, we were both at the facility, and he did admit that he could have done more 1v1 in wider areas, at least in the inside channel, which is like 10 to 15 yards to the inside from the touchline. Because if you're playing a back three, so think of this. So their wing backs are going forward, whatever. If you're beyond the wing back when you're Agustin Ojeda receiving the ball, you should just drive right at that central back on your side. That forces him to step and defend, and now you have one fewer person in the midst. Those 3 guys were sitting in there defending a lot of the game, and that's where it was just impossible. But so wingers, it might not, you're working against a different system, but you've got to get those central defenders, the wide central defenders, you have to get them to step out and defend. And if you don't, they're just going to sit there, and they were really good at it. They were good at it.
Yeah, they are. You've got to challenge them. You've got to get them out of their comfort zone. You've got to be able to pull them out of defense. But New York City just has not been able to do that.
All right. All right, let me just check one thing here while we are live. Okay, nothing yet. All right, so what do? You figure out who is going to give you the best chance to win this one against the Toronto team. Now let's look at them, Roberto. They haven't lost. They got off to a terrible start, and then they were tying games, but they got their first win of the year. First win. In the most recent game, and it was on the road against RSL, and I think that's pretty significant. And you pointed out the young player who scored the goal, who we haven't seen yet. So we'll
that is Theodore Carbonneau, who's on loan to Toronto FC. That's his first goal, by the way, first one in 7 games so far this season. He's basically playing on the left wing, but he can play as striker. He can play as right midfield as well. So, and he arrived from Granada in Spain, where he played 22 games and had 1 goal there. Before that, he was in Grasshopper in Switzerland, Arminia Bielefeld, Blackpool. I mean, he's been all over the place, and he's played 7 times for the Canadian national team. He had played for the Romanian U17. So here's a guy who's now coming in and, trying to get things done for Toronto, who have a series of injuries, and that's going to affect them as well. So players who are out for the game, Derek Etienne, who most people thought was probably going to start, he's not on the availability report as far as I could see.
So who starts it? Because Kerr's out. So who starts at striker for them? That's
that's going to be. I mean, you could see Carbonneau play there because he's played there before. Yep. So Richie Larea is out. I've always been a big Richie Larea fan. I think he's fantastic. Zane Monlouis is out, and Henry Wingo seems to be out as well. That was based on the
so Roberto
report I saw.
Here's another thing. Guess who switched recently to a back 3, and have had success. They've had 3 draws and a win in their last 4 matches, but more recently switched to a back 3. Toronto FC. Just talking about that back 3 shape.
Yeah.
So New York City's got to identify the best way to attack this group and do some damage on the road. When's the last time New York City won a road game, Roberto?
Against the Red Bulls. Now named Sports Illustrated Stadium, 5-1.
Well, it was Red Bull at the time. So, and 5-1. And I always put an asterisk on that one. Indeed, it was a road game, but no travel involved in a place where you've played, I don't know how many home games New York City played.
Yeah, but they'd only won once before there. I mean, as a road team against the Red Bulls, and that was back in 2017.
I'm talking about comfort level. It's not, going on the road. A lot about going on the road is the travel, number one. That takes a lot out of you. Number 2, it's, unfamiliar surroundings. The weather might be whatever. I'm just saying it's a very familiar surrounding for them. So it was a road win. I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just saying I think there's at least a.
You're just being a contrarian.
No, I'm just.
Meanwhile, Toronto just won for the first time in 14 games, going back to last year.
Wow. Well, and look, you went against New England last week that had won only 2 games coming in. And it's so. But look, well-coached teams. Caleb Porter, we talked about him last week. I mean, he's a guy that's he's won a lot of championships at a lot of different levels. Now Robin Fraser, who I think did a remarkable job in Colorado, the lowest budget team in the league, wins the West, doesn't go well the next year, and they sack him. All right, well done. And now he's with one of his former teammates internationally. Chris Armas is running the show there now, but Robin Fraser is an excellent coach.
Yeah, and he's getting it. I'm happy that he's getting a chance. They gave him a chance to settle in. He seems to have found now the right lineup for Toronto. They've been playing much better. As you mentioned, they've only lost 1 out of their last 4 games, or rather, they haven't lost at all in the last 4 games and only allowed 1 goal. John Rojas also tells us, by the way, that only 3 teams haven't played 3 in the back against New York City: Atlanta, Miami, Philadelphia. Everybody else is playing a back 3. So
Wow.
they're scouting
I
New York
I
City
tru-
and basically,
I
and they're
trust
saying,
John.
"Hey, beat us."
Yeah, I trust John. Well, what?
Oh
So let's
yes,
go.
100%.
But I'm just not recalling that. So if anything, New York City should be well trained to play against a back three. But if you're playing a single striker against a back three, right? I mean, that's where it becomes crazy. And remember, New York City switched to a back three against Minnesota to deal with twin strikers. So I agree with that too. Sometimes where you play it 3 versus 2 in there instead of 2 versus 2 if you're playing a back four. I think there's merit to that too. So it's going to always depend on the opponent and the personnel. But let's put it. You said it. Without Derek Etienne Jr. and DeAndre Kerr, those are two big pieces missing, especially Kerr in the air on set pieces, where New York City still, it's a struggle. So those set piece goals last week, Roberto, they didn't get scored directly off the set piece. They were second, like there was a throw in once. Who I think it was Heel that served one to the back post. It went off the side netting. That becomes a corner. That leads to a goal. And then the one where Johnny Shore was 1v1 with Carlos Heel at the other end. And Heel got that free service, and there was nobody inside the 6-yard box defending. Any of 3 players.
Yeah.
I know Donegal scored that goal. There were 3 guys that could have scored that goal. It was they just we in commentary we were trying to Maddie's a central defender. I've coached the game for years, and one thing you say, and we recognize pulling out and doing those sorts of things in an organized way. But once the service is about to be struck, you get a man, you get a body on a man or a hand or something, and you do not let them inside of you. And I would love to know how that one was addressed, but it was really an awful goal. Made it 2-0. What? So both goals were 5 minutes apart. At the end of the first half, beginning of the second half. What do we always say? It's like you hold up 5 because it's the last 5 minutes and the first 5 minutes of the half, and that's where New York City, as Pascal said, turned off. Right?
Yes, he did. And that's what he's got. He said we turned off 2 times, and that's what happened, and we wound up losing the game. So, and the team and what he's trying to instill is that, especially in those sort of moments when there's free kicks and the dead ball moments, that the team has to be all on the same page. And there's been moments when that hasn't happened. And that's some of the things that he addresses in training, he addresses in meetings, and the team has got to be ready.
All right. John Rojas is corrected. It's 4 teams.
Orlando.
That did not go with a back 3. But nonetheless, I didn't realize it was that many. And look, it's all about this game is. This is a front foot game, Roberto. You game plan every match for your opponent, but New York City needs, and look, they want to press high. They want to win the ball in the Toronto end. That's part of their DNA in this system. They need to. It's balls to the wall, man. I really believe it's that kind of a game, and it has that kind of importance. Get your first road win, right? So you presented I thought was a tremendous statistic, which I was unaware during the broadcast. I appreciate when you text me these little things, but that this is just the 3rd time that New York City has opened the season with 5 road games without a victory. And that's coming off the performance at New England. The only 2 times that's happened, expansion year 2015, 2023. What's similar about those 2 years? The only
didn't make the playoffs.
Only 2 seasons in franchise history they didn't make the playoffs. So you hope the script turns around quickly. And right now they're below the playoff line. But it's it's only
it's
a quarter of the
point
season
below, and it's only one
quarter of the season. So I'm just saying these are just facts and statistics, and you look at that. But
it's a quarter poll, and you hope they turn into Secretariat.
It's also 1 win in the last 20 road games, and 5 wins in the last. And dating back to 2023, 5 wins in the last 39 road games. So, so it's 1 win in 23, 4 wins last year, and none yet this year. So,
And what is it now? 36 games without a direct free kick goal?
You're the expert on that. I don't know. I don't know. He's
I have all those stats written down someplace, and actually, Sean does a great job with that. Sean Cabrera for us, but yeah, it is it's a problem with that.
all right. So what else do I got here? Anything else? The only other. So we're here in Toronto. I thought this was interesting. So as we know, this is hockey country. I don't know if I've ever told the story. I had a national team player who played for me at Rutgers, Janelle Foligno, and from Toronto, and got to know her father really well. Now I was up here recruiting or something. Father, hey, come on over. Let's watch the soccer game, at the local pub or whatever. So we go to the local pub. Well, it's NHL playoff time.
Good luck.
There's 120 televisions in this God-blessed bar, and they wouldn't turn one of them to a soccer game. But I bring that up because it's Toronto Maple Leafs. They're up 2-0 in their series on the Ottawa Senators. Game 4 is tomorrow night at 7. So it shouldn't have an impact on the crowd, you wouldn't think.
No.
So maybe Toronto FC is fortunate that the hockey game's at 9.
I'm wondering if that's one of the reasons the game's at 2:30 tomorrow. I mean, they've had crowds. Their crowds have been 22,000 and change for all 3 of their home games so far this season.
Yeah. I think they're like 10th. They're 10th in MLS in attendance, Toronto, which is pretty considering how they started. And they've always supported this team here, even when those dismal years. Before Greg Vanney arrived and they started getting into the MLS Cup final every year, it was people still came out to the games. This place is it's a good sports town. There's little question of that.
It's a great sports town. It's fantastic between basketball, hockey, soccer. They have baseball. They have Canadian football. Sure, there's curling.
All right, let's.
We got to wrap it up.
Let's kick it around, and then we'll wrap. So I get a little Rutgers plug in here, too. MD Myers, who was co-Golden Boot when he played for New York City FC2 and MLS Next Pro, and then was signed by the Charleston Battery of the USL Championship. He was the USL Player of the Week. There he is.
There you go.
And that says hottest player in the USL Championship. This was pulled from Soccer America. So the guy's a goal scorer, and he had a U.S. Open Cup hat trick against Tormenta FC last season, which kind of put him, it was like, whoa, who is this guy? And so good for him. 2 goals in his first 8 minutes for Charleston in a 3-1 win at Indy 11, and that helped him earn USL Player of the Week.
How about 10,000, over 10,000 fans for Indy 11?
Yeah,
pretty decent.
That would be a good MLS town. They really would be a good MLS town. Or
they need a stadium there. They need a. I believe they're still playing in the Dome where the Colts play.
I don't know that. But I do know that.
I know they were used to play there. I don't know if they still are. Somebody knows, please let us know.
When USL goes Division I, becoming the second top tier league here in the United States of America, Indy 11 will be one of the teams that becomes
there, not here.
Huh?
We're not here. This is Canada.
But Indy 11 is in the United States.
Well, you said here in America. We're not in America.
Yeah, but this computer is working through an American,
No, everything's Canadian. The production is Canadian. Everything is Canadian. We are in Canada. I'm happy to be here, by the way.
Isn't Canada part of the U.S. yet?
No.
Okay.
That has not happened.
Oh,
don't even say that.
I think that's why I said it. Is because
Aniello is going to electrocute you.
It's been.
Aniello, that was him, not me.
By the way, you need new AirPods. They're terrible. They sound terrible. But anyway, good thing we have a short show today. Hey, one final thing. This is one of the greatest headlines I've seen. Manchester United Remember they were down and then they came back.
Yeah.
When you're losing 4-2 and still somehow go through, that's amorim. That's not a great. Maybe not.
Thank you. Don't sing very often. We'd appreciate that. But I get the point. It's very good.
Yeah,
very good.
So that's one of my and they
cut your losses. You did fine. We got the point. Good job.
So Europa League, they come back and beat Lyon, and it was a wonderful.
And that was
moment.
a great game, by the way. Oh my God, was that a great game? That was so much fun to watch. Absolutely love that. Last night in Vancouver, 53,800 and change.
Beautiful.
And rabid pro Whitecaps fans. 2-0. They beat Inter Miami in the first leg. They deserved it. Brian White with another goal. He's been absolutely fantastic for them. Their all-time leading scorer. Really happy for Vancouver. Hopefully a lot of those fans keep on coming back. We know the team is for sale. Hopefully somebody buys them and continues to elevate that team. And they will also, even though the team is for sale, the present owners are thinking of building a stadium, an outdoor stadium somewhere near the water. I read. So
be good.
Beautiful place. We will see.
That's one they can play. That's one area of Canada they can play year round. And go back and watch the Brian White goal if you haven't seen it. If you're wondering if Vancouver's playing good football, watch that goal. Brian White, Jersey's finest. Jersey strong, my man Brian White. That a boy.
Not that strong. The Red Bulls sold him for 400,000 GAM and probably the steal of the century in MLS.
Well, it's looking good for Vancouver, and it is a nice story, Roberto. Well, that's going to do it for us. Thanks so much for joining us here. As we're in Toronto, and we're going to be very happy to provide the commentary for you tomorrow. Remember to sync up the Apple audio and video. No, Apple video with our audio on the New York City FC network. Thank you. I'm on English. Roberto's on the Spanish, and it's 2:15 tomorrow. So it's a matinee, then we're out of here. And Roberto, wonderful to see you. And let's go get some dinner.
Let's go get dinner.
On NYCFC Views Live.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.